Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Tag Talk. My name is Kylie. This is Haley. We have quite the episode planned for you this week. I just wanted to point out I'm wearing a Brizango shirt because they'll always have a place in my heart. Um, I love them both dearly. But should we just get on into it? Or should.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have quite a lot to talk about this week. And a lot of things that I think we got a lot of good things to talk about this week, which is a bit of a change up. And then we'll finish on a sour note, but that's okay. That's how we do things. That's how we do things here, apparently.
It is.
So let's talk about FTR and the Briscoes. I know it seems like we talk about them every week, but it's like every week we're getting something new, so I think it's worth it. We had this like special interview segment. It wasn't on Dynamite because apparently the Briscoes can't be on TNT or TBS. It was just like an internet thing. We had a confrontation between FTR and the Briscoes, and basically now the match at Death Before Dishonor on July 23rd is 2 out of 3 falls. I don't listen. I'm not going to turn down 2 out of 3 falls, but I'm wondering what the story here is. Why the second match is our 2 out of 3 falls? It's a little odd. I thought they would have saved that for our third match.
Yeah, and I just want to say I really enjoyed like this like video segment thing. I wish they would do more stuff like that. I just thought like aesthetically it was really cool and something different. But I'm a little confused too. I mean I genuinely like the idea. And I think they kind of set it up in the segment as well, where they said like the first match was for the titles, and now this is for like the legacy, which I really like. I just wonder, is this gonna top their other 2/3 fall match?
I don't know. And then that's the thing. Like, if you go deep into FTR and the Briscoes, if you go deep into their lore, this is a match stipulation that they both have a history with and has been so impactful for them as tag teams. And I'm like, this match is definitely going to go an hour. I think that's what they're definitely shooting for, because as pay-per-view, there's not a whole lot on it so far, and it'll undoubtedly be great. And I think they'll really push themselves to the limit. I'm worried about the future of FTR in Ring of Honor. I thought that it would be short-lived, but I guess they're just going to stick around. And that kind of leads into what we're going to talk about next with the AEW World Tag Team titles. As for the Briscoes, they're kind of still doing a lot of stuff outside of Ring of Honor, and I'm not sure if they're going to be signed to Ring of Honor. I'm not sure with this Warner reports that Warner doesn't want the Briscoes on, their programming because of some problematic tweets in the past. I don't know where Ring of Honor falls under that. We still don't have Ring of Honor Weekly TV, which if you want to hear me talk about that with my co-host Kyle, watch Code of Honor podcast on Body Slam Net YouTube. We talk about that in depth. But anyway, back to FTR and the Briscoes. I think it'll be really interesting to see how they differentiate each fall from the other one inside of the match, because that's something that FTR / the Revival did a really great job of in NXT. But also how they're going to top the last match in ways that aren't just time. Because you can go long and it can be boring. But like, how are you going to make it more exciting and really make me buy into the stakes of it? Because these are both teams that don't really have a solid footing in Ring of Honor, despite FTR being Ring of Honor World Tag Champs.
Yeah, I agree. And I think some of my favorite moments in like 2 out of 3 fall matches is kind of when they rope you in from the start and like a team gets a fall like right at the beginning and you're like, oh shit. Like I like stuff like that, but I'm not sure, because these are two very strong teams. I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but I'm excited.
Yeah, it would be really interesting how they pace this, because a lot of times in these matches, it's basically a given that the last fall is going to come very close to the end. Yeah. It's going to be like a last second thing. There's probably going to be a 60-minute time limit. It'll be like minute 59 or something like that. But the other two, I mean, you could have the Briscoes come straight out of the gate and get that first pin and then have FTR crawl back and get the second one somewhere in the middle. But it would be really interesting if FTR gets that first pin and we see the Briscoes crawl back and get another. I definitely think FTR is going to win this.
Yeah.
Especially because the Briscoes' future on, Warner programming is so unclear, and they're doing so many other things. I definitely think FTR is going to win this. But that leads me to another question, and we didn't plan to talk about this, but we did talk about this on the Ring of Honor podcast, Code of Honor cast. If FTR retains and they're Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, who's next to challenge them? There's no tag division in Ring of Honor. There's no tag division, and there's virtually no women's division. So who's next? Do we see a debut here where a tag team comes out and challenges? Do we see FTR issue a challenge on Twitter to someone? Like, where do we go from here? Because it definitely feels like this is stagnant. This is definitely the Young Bucks Lucha Bros of like the early AW days. This is that, but for Ring of Honor, where we just get a bunch of matches just because we need great matches.
That's a good question. I mean, I would like to see maybe a debut here just to kind of set up Ring of Honor some more. Because I feel like if you're just going to keep having like pay-per-view shows, like you kind of need to start building a division. I mean, I feel like you can't keep taking like AEW talent and like putting it on,
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean. I don't know if like when or if we're going to get Ring of Honor TV, or if it's going to be on a streaming service or on YouTube or something. But I definitely think we're going to our second pay-per-view, and I think if nothing is announced for weekly TV at this show, I think if they don't have anything, they need to just put it on YouTube, because we need to get things going. We can't just have random pay-per-views with boring Samoa Joe, Jay Lethal segments on AEW TV. Especially the tag division. There's no tag division. There's the champs, and that's basically it, which kind of sucks. But as we alluded to earlier, do you want to go straight into the triple tag?
Of course.
Okay, this was shocking to me.
Yep, genuinely.
I know it was shocking to Haley too. Okay, so prior to Wednesday, the Young Bucks were the AEW World Tag Team Champions. They were in their second reign, and I think everybody understood that they were just going to be transitional champs. Yeah. But most of us thought that they were going to be transitional champs for FTR at All Out. But that's not the case. So on Dynamite, we had a triple tag. It was the Young Bucks. It was Swerve and Keith Lee. And then it was Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. And Swerve and Keith Lee are your new AEW World Tag Team Champions. I'm still shocked. I'm like, listen, I didn't expect this. And I don't know if this means we're not getting a payoff for the teased like split between Swerve and Lee, or maybe we'll get that later if they lose the titles. I don't really know. I thought if the titles were going to change hands, I thought it was going to be Ricky Starks and Hobbs.
Yeah.
Powerhouse Hobbs, just because they've been a team for so long, and I think they need to get to the next level. But I'm happy by this result. I thought this match was excellent, though. I really love seeing Swerve and Nick Jackson. And that towards the beginning of the match, that sequence, it was so good, just step for step matching each other, and that really helped Swerve, I think, elevate to the Young Bucks level. In the eyes of the fans, of course, I think he's already there, but you know what I mean. I thought this match was incredible. I think everyone looked insane. Ricky Starks and Nick Jackson, too. Nick Jackson took these two guys and he says, "Come up to me." And they did it.
Listen, and Nick Jackson does it every time. That's what I'm saying. That's what I preach every week.
Haley is the biggest Young Bucks stan ever. But what most of you don't know is it's primarily Nick Jackson.
It really is.
Like wrestling wise. She does love Matt, but wrestling wise, Nick Jackson. Nick Jackson is such a special wrestler to me. I think he's as insane as the Young Bucks are, as highly praised and lauded and everything. I do think as an individual wrestler, I think Nick Jackson is underrated. I think people think he's all like flippy stuff and whatever, but I do think that he is a lot more athletic and a lot smarter than he gets credit for.
I agree. And while I think like Matt this is like just diverting, but I just wanted to say I feel like even though like Matt is like objectively better on the mic, like I mean Nick can hold his own too.
That's true, and I really think we got to see a lot of Nick's charisma, and that spot where him and Ricky were on the top rope and they're walking towards each other. And Ricky normally does that, and he's like dancing. He's very charismatic. Ricky Starks is such a big personality, but Nick Jackson wasn't like shadowed by Ricky Starks at all. He like, it was incredible to me. I think every team in this match came out looking better. We also did in the middle of the match, and this was what led me. I felt like validated in thinking the Young Bucks would win. We did get another tease for Swerve turning on Keith Lee, but then it didn't pan out like that. He was like, "Oh no, I'm not doing it." And then they won the titles. So, and Haley and I were very surprised by this, and we were texting each other back and forth, like, "Well, what do they do now? Where's FTR? What is FTR gonna do?" So maybe we should talk about that for a little bit. What is next for Swerve and Keith Lee?
Well, see, I want them to have a really long reign, and I really want it to pay off. But I'm wondering, because there were reports, and I didn't even notice this when I was watching the match, that Ricky got pinned, but he wasn't legal. And so I was like, ooh, they're going to set up another match. Are the Bucks going to win the titles back? And now I'm a little nervous.
And see, I definitely think there's some credence to saying that the Young Bucks only won the belts because the Hardys, Jeff with his, DUI and all the unfortunate things there, they needed someone to step in. And then the Young Bucks are logical, they're responsible, you can depend on them, blah, blah, blah. It's interesting because to me, now the Young Bucks are clear and free to go do trios, which we'll talk about in a minute with our next topic. But what is the state of the AEW tag team division if you take out all the trios? That's something I think that not a lot of people have talked about, because if you take out trios, you're left with Swerve and Lee, of course, Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, which they would both be excellent tag champs. You have FTR, who I think are going to win the belts next. The Acclaimed, but they're wrapped up with the Gun Club, so who knows? Who else you got? You can't even really say you have the Lucha Bros because they're in Death Triangle. That's a trio. You have Varsity Blondes. I mean, I guess you could say you have Darby and Sting, but like
and
you take out
Hookhausen, sort of, not really.
What happened to Hookhausen?
I know, where did they go?
Now we have Hook doing promos backstage, like with Lexi, like he's just doing nothing, eating chips, and you have Danhausen hiding under the ring cursing people. When are we gonna get our Hookhausen reunion?
Please.
It's so sad. I was so happy with Hookhausen. They finally came together, and then it was great. But before we go off on a Hook tangent, I just want to say, if you take out trios, because we've spent so long building a trios division, the tag division is in a weird spot. And you of course, there's many tag teams they could make, like Jericho Appreciation Society, you can make tag teams there. You have Blackpool Combat Club, tag teams there, blah, blah, blah. But if we do like a trios tournament or something like that, a lot of talent is going to be tied up with that. And to me, like the tag belts are now like, they're just second place. Just not in the long term, of course, at least I hope not. But with regards to trios being introduced. So I'm excited for trios. I'm also worried for like the future of the tag division. And like in the long term, how are these two divisions going to mesh? I don't know. And I think AEW can do it, and they can do it well. And I think they need to, because they have such a bloated roster, and trios can take up a lot of talent. They can shove anyone in there and they'll be golden. I am just worried because FTR. And see, a lot of people are like, well, when CM Punk comes back, there'll be a trio like Punk and FTR. And I would like that. But also, like, FTR has been building to being AEW tag champs. And now they're not going to win it from the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing here.
I don't either. I'm scared.
I'm like, there's so many moving parts, and like none of them make sense to me.
And like normally, like with like AEW, like that's not really the case. Like,
yeah,
it felt really like sudden. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that Swerve and Our Glory is champs. But I'm just confused.
Yeah, I would definitely. I don't know. I'm happy they're champs, and I have no doubt they'll be great champs because they're both great wrestlers.
For sure.
Undoubtedly. And I don't want it to come across that we're dissing them in any way because we are on board. We were so excited. But I thought our story was like set in stone. We were going to do FTR Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are going to be sad and lost, and then they'll, meet up with Hangman and they'll do their thing. But now we're not. That's not happening. And a part of me wonders if maybe we had to get the Young Bucks out faster so that we can get the tag trios done before All Out, because All Out is September 4th or 5th or something like that. And it's July, so we really do have to get the ball rolling if we're going to do a tournament. But then also it's like, well, Adam Cole's out and CM Punk is out and Bryan Danielson is out. So it's like, should we save trios for full gear?
Yeah.
And it's like, AEW has never been a company that's been chaotic like this, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Where it's like there's so many things going on and it's hard for like as a fan to piece them together in like a cohesive way. AEW has always been logical and cohesive. And even when we fantasy booked and we were wrong, like the stories they made still made sense. And now I'm not getting that. And it's specifically with the tag division. It's confusing. And I don't know where Swervingly, like, who's their next challenger? Like, it has to be FTR. They've been number one contenders for like weeks and weeks and weeks. But it's like FTR Young Bucks is the story. That's the story.
And they've been teasing it on social media more, like, and it seemed logical that it was going to happen at All Out.
And I did see a lot of people on Twitter saying, well, the Young Bucks are ducking FTR. Like, they dropped the titles so that they could duck FTR. But, like, it makes no sense because, one, Nick Jackson said, this is my only friend, my AEW World Tag Team title belt. And two, why would they purposely lose to duck FTR?
Yeah.
Because now FTR can become champs and, like, the Young Bucks are just, like, going to ignore it. Like, and that it makes no sense. The dots are not connecting on that one.
No. I don't know. Because then, so say they did set it up and FTR faced Swerve and Our Glory and they won the titles. Then do the Bucks come back in and is that, like, do we get that? Like, then it doesn't really make sense to me because I feel like it would make more sense to be the opposite way, that FTR would win the titles off the Bucks. And, like, that's the payoff for the past, like, 2 years.
And it would make sense because each one, FTR Young Bucks 1, FTR Young Bucks 2, that's, like, little pieces of the story building to the third match. And maybe they want to push the match off until, like, next year at some point, like, do some long-term story. But I'm worried now that we're going to get CM Punk and FTR versus the Young Bucks, and that we're just going to have to be satisfied with that. Which, don't get me wrong, like, it would be good. It would be a good trios match. But, like, the big story here, and it has been the big story for literal years. This story's older than AEW. FTR and Young Bucks. And now, what are we doing? The FTR is on the babyface run of their life. And Young Bucks are on the precipice of their heel run, turning into, in my opinion, sympathetic baby faces as they reconcile with their long-lost friend, Hangman Page. And it's like, this match, like, there's no better time to do it than right now. And we're just not going to do it.
Yeah. I feel like they always capitalize on it, and the fact that it's not is, like, aggravating me.
The only way I could see it realistically working out is if we don't get trios before All Out. Yeah. And then FTR wins the belts at All Out from Swerve and Our Glory, and then we get FTR Young Bucks at Grand Slam, which is like 3 weeks after All Out in I think it's in Queens, New York. And that's a big show. Arthur Ashe Stadium is a big stadium. It's basically a pay-per-view level show, judging by last year with the first edition. And they could do it there. It could be, the Danielson Kenny Omega for this year. It would be a big match. You could build it like that. But I don't know. Because FTR is clearly going to go over the Young Bucks. I think everyone can agree. But it gives me a headache to think about.
Same. Well, with that being said, do you want to talk about our weekly Hung Bucks update since we've been kind of teasing it?
Yeah. So Haley and I were talking about this episode. We were planning it, working out the outline and everything. And I was like, basically, we're doing like a weekly Hung Bucks update. And that, listen, intentional or not, I feel like this is a thing now, our weekly Hung Bucks update. Because we watch the content, we consume BTE. We're on Twitter. We watch the promos. We give you your Hung Bucks update.
We need like a little like graphic.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. Should I make a banner really quick? Okay.
We'll have it ready for next week.
Hold on. So do you want to talk about hold on, here we go. Hung Bucks update.
Love it.
So, so listen. So on I'm going to sound crazy for a second, but I need you all to follow me here, okay?
Oh, are you going to say what I think you're going to say?
I'm going to talk about Hangman Page on Dynamite.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Hangman comes on Dynamite. He's doing a promo. And listen, this was absurd to me, okay? He's wearing a headband. Yeah. He has on a Young Buck style shirt.
Tie-dye,
and he has his hair in a bun.
And he's
going Matt Jackson. And he's looking at his phone. Listen, last week, or maybe it was the week before last week, on Being the Elite, Hangman Page had a segment with the Dark Order, and he talked about, your friends, you go out on your own paths, but you always come back because those are your friends and you love your friends, blah, blah, blah. And he said, wait, like, I'm wrong. I'm not, basically saying, ignore me. And he walked away. And then we got Matt Jackson in the text message. And now we get this. Hangman Page looking like a Young Buck on his phone on Dynamite. Haley.
BTE is canon.
Listen, if you don't watch BTE, it's fine because we'll tell you about it. Yeah. But also, I feel like you do miss critical storytelling elements. Like, you can watch the stories on Dynamite and Rampage and you can keep track and you'll be fine. But BTE gives you all these little, like, dramatic elements of the story, like Matt Jackson not sending the text. But on BTE this week, do we see Matt Jackson send the text message?
I think we do. I don't know.
And see, people have to keep in mind, BTE that comes out this Monday was filmed the week before. So theoretically, what we see, tomorrow, because, today's Sunday, tomorrow's Monday, could have been filmed, like, last Monday. So we could see Matt Jackson and Hangman Page secretly reconciling prior to the Dynamite segment.
Listen. I feel like these little teases are becoming too much for me. Like, I need something more. Like, I need them in the same frame. Like, listen, it's early in the morning. Don't start with me, guys.
We are filming this so early in the morning. Look at my coffee. Listen, not to go off on a tangent, but we normally film Saturday nights because it's just the time that works for both of us. But the world decided that I was going to get a major thunderstorm and water spout, and Florida was going to be underwater for like 8 hours. So we're filming this early Sunday morning. So
bear with us.
Yeah.
But like, I need something more. I need more substance.
Yeah.
I don't know. That outfit though, like, really threw me for a loop. I was like, Hangman.
It's the headband. He didn't look like Hangman at all.
No. And the bun too, like the Matt Jackson style bun. Come on here. Come
Listen,
on. Here.
I tweeted him. A lot of people told me that I was like being crazy.
You're not being crazy. I thought the same thing.
There's no way, knowing what I know about the Hung Bucks, well, all of the Elite, and like how intentional everything they do is. I know for a fact at this point that we're getting a story here with the Hung Bucks. Whether it's trios, not trios, I don't know. But listen, the story's rapidly progressing, and I'm so ready. I'm so ready. I need Matt Jackson to send that text message.
I feel like he's going to. But then for me, that begs the question, like, when does Nick come around? You know, because I feel like he's still like really hurt. Does he just follow his brother's lead? Is he like, does it take longer? Will we see more of that on BTE? I'm interested.
I wonder if part of the reason why Nick is so hesitant, well, it's because Hangman's, screwed them over with the FTR thing. But also, Nick and Kenny have always been super close. Yeah. And I wonder if he's worried about how Kenny will perceive the Young Bucks and Hangman Page coming together in his absence. And then he comes back to AEW and he sees that his spot in the Elite Trio has been taken by Hangman Page, his former rival. So I think we're definitely, like, Kenny is there in this dynamic. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying Kenny's coming back. I don't know when Kenny's coming back. But I definitely think that's something to consider. And I think it's something that they'll factor into the story. Also, Adam Cole and Red Dragon, wherever. I don't know if they're injured too. I don't know what's going on with them. But when they come back, hopefully, fingers crossed, happy and healthy, that's another thing to consider. What are they going to say to the Young Bucks about this alliance with Hangman Page? It's like there's so many ways that they can do the story and do it very well. And it's like they have these 3 members of the Elite left who aren't injured, and they're maximizing their time. They're like they put Hangman Page on Dynamite dressed as a Young Buck. They did.
Listen,
and I'll not be told.
When Matt got that stinger in that match on Wednesday, I was like, oh, please. Please, like, don't let it last, please don't let it turn into something else, like, keep that man safe, like, protect him at all costs, like, I need the payoff to this right now.
And listen, this is how crazy I am. This was probably not intentional, this was just me reading into things, but at the beginning of the tag, the triple tag, Nick goes to the middle rope and he's going to do that moonsault he does off the apron. For a second, it looked like he was going to do a buckshot lariat. I'm just saying. Go back and watch it and tell me that I'm crazy. Tell me I'm crazy, but listen, it looked like a buckshot lariat.
Okay, but listen, I feel like we're not out of reach here because the Bucks do put little nuances into everything that they do. And people don't pick up on it. Like the shoe thing, that's a thing now.
Yeah.
Or how Matt, I saw on Twitter, I don't remember who. It's somebody I follow though. They said that they knew when the Bucks were gonna lose because of the way that Matt did his hair. If he wore it a certain way, that meant they were gonna lose, and then they lost. So
So someone make us a compilation. Prove that this is true. Because now I'm intrigued.
I'm going to have to go back and find that tweet. I don't remember.
But back to the Nick Jackson point, because I do think it's really interesting that Matt is the one who is spearheading the pro Hangman movement. Because Matt and Hangman have always been, not rivals, but they're big personalities and they do clash. But now it's Matt who's listen, friend. I think this has gone on long enough. Let's do something here.
That's a shy little baby.
And Nick's all I need is my belt. I don't need anyone. So it's
it's friends when I have my tag belt.
And now he doesn't have it. He has no friends now. except for his brother. That's all he has is his brother. Oh my
so
God.
Sorry. Maybe that's so horrible.
Maybe that's why he'll accept Hangman. He's I have no friend.
You know what? I do need a friend.
And then you're the only one I got. I don't know. I think the story's so interesting, and I'm so happy it's picking up. And if you don't believe that the Hangman thing was a Young Bucks thing, we're gonna prove you wrong. And
Yes.
I think Being the Elite is gonna prove you wrong. I think we're gonna get some interesting things on Being the Elite this week.
I do too. And then on Dynamite too, I'm gonna be watching like a hawk.
And be like looking for all the details. I'm gonna watch it on like a half speed, and I'm gonna get my magnifying glass, and I'm gonna just watch every detail. Listen, I don't put anything past these people.
I don't either.
They are like, if you were a fan of the Young Bucks in the Ring of Honor days, you know that Being the Elite, it's basically canon for their in-ring stuff, and there's like so much crossover and so much detail. You know.
Watch Being the Elite. That's the takeaway this week.
That's the takeaway. And also support the Hung Bucks. And also Trios belts win.
Hopefully soon.
I'm gonna do a poll on Twitter, and maybe I'll have it go live when this episode goes live. Trios belts before All Out or after All Out? That's the thing here. I think we're getting Trios belts this year. I think the division's ready. And I don't think we can wait for Kenny Omega anymore. So before All Out, after All Out, I'll put a poll up when this episode goes live. You guys can go vote on that on my Twitter. Let me take this off so you can see it. @Fuller_Kiley. There's go vote on my poll. I love a good poll.
She loves doing polls all the time.
I do polls all the time, and one is because I like knowing what you guys think about things, and also I just think it's really interesting to see how other people see tag team wrestling. But now we're going to go into the negative part of this week. And like always, it's WWE. Shocking.
Look, it's not that we want it to be. Like, we really put faith in this company more than we should, probably. And it always bites us in the ass.
I think people genuinely think that well, first of all, I don't watch WWE. I will watch like highlights and clips and things. I'll follow the stories, but I don't watch it weekly because I literally cannot. But I think a lot of people think when I talk about WWE, I do it with the intent to like nitpick and find things wrong, but it's just not the case. It's just really that bad. And what to me, the tag division is the greatest example of that. And so I wanted to talk about the Usos, because what is happening? Okay. The Usos are like, what are they calling them? Like the unified tag champs?
Yeah.
Universal tag champs, whatever.
Unified,
but they're losing a lot.
Yeah.
And they have a match with the Street Profits, and a special guest ref is Jeff Jarrett.
It seems really random, but like, I feel like just because it's WWE, like it's just supposed to be like a fun thing, like whatever. Like it's not supposed to make sense.
But here's my problem with that. I feel like the Usos' entire reign has not made sense. Yeah. And I feel like they're very, very weak. I feel like they're very, very weak champions right now. I feel like their entire reign, even though they have, like both sets of tag belts, I think they've been treated as like Roman's little henchmen. Mm-hmm. And like their tag title run doesn't matter as much as like Roman's like grand run. And the Street Profits, I feel like, are also a team that are constantly underestimated, always undermined. They're never in a good spot. And I think the Street Profits have the potential to be like one of the greatest tag teams in the world, because I think they're both, super talented, and I think everything is there, but it's like they're in WWE. So there's only so much they can do. Same for the Usos, for that matter. But I think this Jeff Jarrett thing is kind of a slap in the face. I'm not going to lie.
I think it's really random, but I mean, whatever. My biggest question is, will we finally see the payoff between the Usos and the Street Profits, and are we going to see the Street Profits become champs? Or is this where they're going to break up? Because I'm a little terrified that that's what's going to happen. And while I think that Dawkins, I feel like a lot of people underestimate him, proven in the Money in the Bank match. Really great match. But I feel like a lot of people underestimate him, and I think he could have a great singles run himself, but I don't think it's the time right now to split them up. I would like to see them as champs. And I feel like that could create a great rift in the bloodline story as well, and maybe see the Usos turn on Roman. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there are reports that Solo Sikoa from NXT, who is the Usos' brother, who looks just like them, by the way. They look like
yes.
They're not, but and there are reports that he's going to be called up to the main roster. Now, there's no like confirmation he's going to be part of the bloodline, blah, whatever. But like with how much he looks like the Usos, if you don't put him with the Usos, people are going to be very confused. I'm sorry, but he has to. And I don't know, that throws an interesting sort of wrench into this bloodline story because you have the Usos and you have Solo Sikoa. But like, well, first WWE doesn't have trios. But like, what do you do with him? Yeah. Like if the Usos lose the belts and they have their, like, I think he's their younger brother. The younger brother comes up and he's like, hey, like I'm new on the main roster. Like, does Roman accept this newcomer into the bloodline? Does Roman reject him because he like wants to keep the Usos on his side? Like, what's the story here? And like the Street Profits to me are just like a side piece to that.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because the Street Profits, I think, are an excellent tag team. I think they have great matches with the Usos. And it does feel like they're getting split up, and I don't want that.
I feel like whenever we get excited about things, we should just start expecting the opposite. I'm like, yeah, like I want them to, it means that they're going to lose and they're going to split up. Like, and I'm sorry if that sounds like super negative, but like, listen, I'm tired of giving them the benefit of the doubt. So if I say the opposite, maybe I'll be like pleasantly surprised. But if I'm not,
you know what, that's a good plan. If we like anticipate the worst, then when something good happens, it'll be even better. I like
exactly.
I don't know what they're gonna do with the Street Profits. I don't know what they're gonna do with the Usos for that matter. You know, we have Roman Brock again, which is always a good time, of course. I am so. But there's also reports that Roman is like wanting to do more stuff with like Hollywood and movies and acting and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know what the plan is here. If Roman's going to beat Brock, if Brock's going to beat Roman, I really don't know. And it, like, we're building to like a pay-per-view, and it's like what is going on here? I have no idea what is happening with anything. It's like everything is so up in the air, specifically with the bloodline. But the reports of Solo Sikoa, it's going to be like the end of July, maybe August. He'll come up to the main roster. I think he's ready. When I see him, I saw him at an NXT house show, and he was by far the most cheered person. People love Solo. Now he's not going to be Solo because he's going to be in the bloodline probably. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't know. I feel like the tag division is just empty and it's a barren wasteland, and there's no intention. There's no story. It's all just sort of there.
And it sucks because, and I don't want to like bring this up, but I feel like they were starting to kind of like further like greaten the tag divisions, and then like in the past like year with all the cuts and everything, now they're all gone. So it's like,
yeah. Hello, Breezango. You remember Fashion Files?
Listen, they were my favorite part of the shows. Honestly, maybe that's the thing. That's when I stopped watching. They got released. Like, that's when I stopped.
Listen, Haley. When I tell you when Breezango basically got demolished on the main roster and didn't win anything, even though they should have. Well, first of all, their feud with the Usos was incredible. If you disagree, then you completely misunderstood the story there. But when they went back to NXT and they had that reunion and Dango came, he saved Tyler Breeze, and they won the tag belts, that was an incredible story. And they both got released. How do you release Breezango, who consistently gave you the most entertaining segment on SmackDown for weeks with the Fashion Files? Like, day one is H? That was hilarious. And now you have...
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Tyler Breeze isn't really wrestling anymore. He teaches wrestling. I don't know if he ever has plans to wrestle. I don't know what the story there is. And then you have Dirty Dango who's wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like WWE could easily scoop them up and put them together and throw them at the Usos, and it would be great. And we wouldn't have to worry about the Street Profits getting split up.
Exactly.
And I feel like we're always in this position where it's like, are they finally going to give the Usos, like, are they finally going to elevate someone to the Usos level, like as a mainstay in the tag division, someone who's not the New Day? I'll throw that out there. And it never happened. So we get the Uso versus the New Day, like on repeat for years. But it's like the Street Profits are there. Like all you got to do is like pull the trigger once, and they're mainstays, and you can put them in anything, and they'll be great. And I feel like Breezango could have been that.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, now I'm reminiscing about Breezango and how incredible they were. People loved Breezango.
Yes.
Now I'm really angry. This is our WWE rant segment. By the way, that's what I've titled it on my outline, WWE rant. And I feel like we do one every week. But it's like every week is something different, and I think that's a problem. Like now it's Breezango. like the fashion police, like
I know.
What happens? What happens?
I miss it.
And now, thoughts and prayers to Big E, but we have the Usos and the Street Profits, and like that's the tag division, basically, because the New Day is kind of like MIA for a bit, and so much in the way of like Ring of Honor, like we talked about earlier, WWE really needs to invest some time in making tag teams that can always be dependent on, that are not the Usos. You need tag teams that you don't feel the urge to split up. And I think it's clear they feel the urge to split up the Street Profits. So like you have Usos, you have New Day, and they make a ton of money. That's why they stay together. But like it's scripted programming.
Yeah.
Shh. Like you could make another Usos and it'd be easy. Like all you'd have to do, it would be so easy. You almost did it with Breezango. You almost did it.
And like my thing too is like the Usos and the New Day like aren't going to be around forever. So when they're gone, then what?
Yeah, it's like you have no tag division at that point. Like what? Like what?
Are the belts, I guess.
Well, first of all, they need to unify them and have one set of tag belts. I think. Mm-hmm. I think having two divisions doesn't help. Well, there's tag teams in NXT that they could call up, but like I don't think a lot of people watching Raw and SmackDown watch NXT 2.0. So I don't know how you would do big debuts anymore. Like remember back in the day, like you could throw Kevin Owens on TV with John Cena, and like the fans were there because they loved Kevin Owens and they watched NXT. But now it doesn't feel that way to me. And like I don't know how we're gonna do developmental if the fans aren't watching NXT 2.0. Like, I don't know. Like, of course, they probably know the stars, like Cora. Oh my god, it's another rant. Like Cora and Roxanne and Mandy and Braun Breaker, but like, I don't know. Tag team decay across the board for WWE.
It's bad.
Yeah, I think overall, AEW's tag division, as chaotic and as directionless it might feel, I have no doubt that there is a direction, and I give AEW the benefit of the doubt because they have never really like gone wrong in a serious way with most things. WWE though, I give them the benefit of the doubt and they slap me in the face. Yeah. So that's where we are with tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
If you're curious.
Well, speaking of another thing that slapped us in the face while we're ranting about WWE, would you like to talk about Cora and Roxanne?
I guess. Listen. This is another thing I'm perplexed by.
Yeah.
I have no thoughts. Like I'm so confused.
So it's giving me like shades of Ambrose and Rollins in 2018 when Ambrose turned, when they won the tag titles. And I don't know if I like that. Like I like that they're kind of creating like a frenemies storyline. I think that those tend to do very well, and I think that both of them um, would really elevate it. I think that they're both great wrestlers. I'm not. I don't agree with it being done so soon, though. They just won the titles.
Yeah. And I don't, and as much as I do love them as a tag team, I think it's undeniable that the Ambrose Rollins story was so deep and so complex because of, the Shield and like basically growing up together in WWE. And I think they're sort of forcing that, relationship complexity onto these two women, which they're great wrestlers and, they do, they wrestle great together, blah, blah, blah. But it's like Ambrose and Rollins was so natural to me.
Yep.
And the way that they interacted with each other and the way that they sort of developed that relationship and their personalities. And to me, and this is probably the issue with a lot of WWE stories, there's nothing natural about most things on these shows. And I think Cora and Roxanne is an example of that, where they're put together as a tag team because they're both young and they're both, like spunky. And like now I'm supposed to buy into the fact that they have something that is like on that level. Like they just got together as a tag team. And like we haven't seen any bumps in the road for them. They haven't really been tested a lot. Like we haven't seen them overcome a lot. So it's a shocking turn for Cora. And two, it's like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for her. Like if the story was the other way around, maybe like we could like close our eyes and pretend like the story's there. But I don't know. Like this is such a bad decision to me.
My question is, do you think that this was what they were going to go with Sasha and Naomi? And then they were just like, you know what? We're just going to throw it on the NXT Tag Champs.
You know what? I
wouldn't put it past them.
Maybe. And see, it always boggles my mind because they have a natural relationship like that with Sasha and Bailey. And you remember back like a few years ago where they were like teasing a split up? But they were like, oh no, I love you. And they made up and like, that was it. Like we didn't get the story. It's giving that.
It is.
But like I don't know. Like you want these big tag team stories with these tag team breakups. And that's very much a WWE trope that they like to pull out a lot. And sometimes it works well, like Ambrose and Rollins. But like sometimes you have the story right in front of your face, like Sasha and Bailey, and you don't do it. And then you have Sasha and Naomi, which it would work. I don't think it would have the impact of Sasha Bailey, but it would work. And then like we get this whole situation, which we didn't even bring up Sasha Banks, but Sasha Banks took a C2E2 booking for like it's a signing or something, a meet and greet, something along those lines. So, and she went by her real name, her shoot name, not Sasha Banks. So listen, the Sasha Banks' released conspiracy is gaining traction rapidly. So I don't think we're ever going to get a resolution to the Sasha Naomi story, but it is what it is. And also, not to get off track from the NXT women's tag titles, but the main roster women's tag titles are doing nothing. And there's reports that like there's reports that like talent were like told that there's going to be like a tournament to, because the titles are still vacant, by the way. And now it's like there's no news on anything happening, and they've broken up most of the tag teams. So like, are the titles dead? Like, are they just going to like quietly retire them?
At this point, I feel like it should be. I mean, they weren't really doing anything with them anyway.
Part of me feels like maybe they're waiting to see if they can re-sign Sasha and Naomi, which I don't know if Naomi's released. I should probably say that. I think it's pretty clear Sasha is out. Maybe they feel like they can Zelina Vega it and like get them to re-sign somehow. I don't know. I'm just I'm so disappointed in these women tag titles. Like, when you remember when they introduced them, and I was like, oh my god, yes, finally. It took like 20 years, but we're here. We're here.
Finally doing something with the women's divisions.
Yes, and then it was like we started off hot. We had great tag teams. We had Sasha Bailey. We had the Iconics. Like, our division was set. And then now it's like there's no Iconics. Bailey's out. Sasha's not here anymore. Like, there's no tag division, and now the belts are like gone. And now, what a letdown! Is there a bigger failure in WWE history than the women's tag titles?
And like all of this in like 4 to 5 years, by the way.
Yes. Like, every title has like peaks and valleys. Like, there's times where it feels meaningless and times where it feels like it's the center of the world. These were just like, it was like a little mini peak, like a little spark of hope, and then it was like, whoosh, and now we're like underground. Like, we're not even in the valley. We're like beneath the valley.
DOA.
Like, the valley is like the US title, and like we're below that.
I don't know anymore. I can't. Like,
our WWE rants, we try to be positive about WWE. You guys don't even know.
Like, it's really frustrating. Like, every week we're like, we get so excited when like something good happens and we can talk about it, and then like literally when the Cora and Roxanne thing happened, the 2 days after our episode came out, they split up, and we were so mad about it.
Yeah, and listen, we don't approach this like thinking we're gonna like hype up AEW. Like, we try to be fair, and I think we did give a lot of fair criticism to AEW this week. But it's like, we try so hard to like WWE. You guys don't even know. And like, it's not like we can just leave them out of the show. Yeah. Because it's like tag team wrestling, and like, this is important to tag team wrestling. But like, listen.
Come on.
If you guys listen, give us WWE, give us something to talk about. And maybe next week, if it's all negative, we'll just leave WWE out. I don't know. What do you guys think?
If the Street Profits win, I will throw a party. And like, nothing bad happens. Like, it's just a clean win. Like, just give me something.
Listen, I'm here for it. We'll listen. Every week you'll get a Hung Bucks update. Because Lord knows we need that little bright light. And you'll probably get a WWE analysis.
Everything else up in the air.
Whether it's positive or negative, we'll see.
Yeah.
But that being said, that was this week's episode of Tag Talk. We really got through a lot. Let us know what you guys thought. And also, don't forget to go vote in my poll about the trios tag titles. Sorry if we're off this week. We're both very, very tired. It's very early in the morning. But we're here for you guys. We love doing the show, and we love you guys. Haley, do your plugs.
Well, as always, you can follow me on Twitter right there, just to find out everything that I'm doing. That's my plug.
You can follow me on Twitter at Fuller_Kiley. I have a couple things this week, so go to Twitter to find those. You can see me every Sunday at 5 here on Tag Talk with my good friend, or my bestie, Haley. She's right there. She'll also be here every week. She didn't mention that, but she will be here every week. You can see me every Monday at 3 on the Body Slam Net YouTube channel for the Code of Honor podcast, where me and my other bestie, Kyle, break down Ring of Honor news, Ring of Honor history, Ring of Honor matches, everything Ring of Honor. Subscribe to Fightful Overbooked, like this video, comment below, engage with us on Twitter, go vote in my poll, go support everyone else on Fightful Overbooked. There's some amazing content on here, and you guys should be watching it. I want to, just go ahead and tell you there's a lot of new shows that have come out recently. Go give them some love. They all deserve it. And that's all we have for you this week.
We're so dead.
We're a little dead on the inside. Listen, I stayed up really late. I was waiting for the thunderstorm to stop, and it didn't stop for like 8 hours. So I was like, okay, I'm going to bed. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week.